Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host, Derailious, and today we're going to be going over the Taurus Canyon update, which is back on the Alpha Network with its first round of changes. And guys, these changes are huge. Foraging might be back. Before we begin, though, make sure to like and subscribe. Use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order. And without any further ado, let's get started. To begin with today, let's go over something small that a lot of people have been asking for. They have redone the textures for the aspect of the void as well as the Terminator, and guys, these look way better than their old counterparts. When I think of a Terminator, this is what I think of. When I think of the AOTV, this is what I think of. Excellent job, team. As for the first Foraging Island related change, we have to talk about flex bones because, guys, they have made them a lot better. Flex bones have been totally adjusted. They now have a 25% chance to replace a treasure catch when fishing in the Tomb Floodway. The amount of flex bones received scales with the catch tier. So if you get a good catch, it's 1. If you get a great catch, it's 2 to 4. And if you get an outstanding catch, you get 8 flex bones. That is going to make the process of grinding out flex bones ridiculously easier. I think someone did the math on this. I've heard 15 times easier. The experience is going to be so much better for new and returning players. Next, we have to talk about Desert Whispers, which are basically the Forest Whispers, but for Core of the Forest 4 and higher and Heart of the Forest 4 and higher. And I do have some things to say about this. First, players who currently have over 12.5 million Forest Whispers will have all Whispers in excess of that amount converted into Desert Whispers at a 1-to-1 ratio, so you won't lose any. Also, they are gained from the Torrhus Canyon. Forest Whispers are going to be from the Moonglade Marsh. I feel like that's fairly clear. However, there is something I want to talk about here. I think they should consider moving some of the really strong foraging-related perks, like, for example, Forest Speed, Forest Strength, down significantly to Heart of the Forest Tier 3 even. The reason why is that if you're a new player and you just got to Galatea, and you just got to the Taurus Canyon, for example, right? You hit this tier 4 milestone. You won't have any of the good perks that are relevant to you, and you'll be forced to grind out Helix stuff in order to get those perks, with basically no sweep. You won't have Forest Speed, you won't have Forest Strength, you won't have any of that when you first get to this island. You'll only have these first few perks, which frankly are not very good. What I think they should do is move some of those higher tier perks down, or alternatively, what they could do is allow you to get all the way up to maybe tier 6, for example, with the Forest Whispers, and add up some new tiers, maybe at tier 8, tier 9, etc., and then make those the ones that you need the Desert Whispers for. Just a thought, I think that would be a lot better for the new player progression, but regardless, I understand why they have to add Desert Whispers. It makes sense. It goes along with the other systems they've made with the Heart of the Mountain. Tree gift milestones of all types have been lowered. As you can see, the max tree gift milestone has been reduced from 5,000 down to 2,500, and the second to last milestone is now just 1,000. And yes, this is the case for every type of tree. If I go over to Helix trees, same deal. Also, as you can see, previously the Helix trees gave you a fading green rune that has been updated. It is now a fading blue rune. The team has also fixed the throwing axe penalty applying incorrectly, and if you go over to the Helix Chopper recipe, because of the Flexbone change and the fact that they're so much easier to get, they have made a Flexbone requirement needed in order to make the Helix Chopper. You'll need 8 of these. Frankly, it should not take long at all for you to grind these out. The team has also made an adjustment to the Jade Dragon Egg cost. As you can see, instead of 100 Figstone and 100 Main Cores, it's now 64 Figstone, 64 Main Cores, and 64 Helixus, as well as 500 million coins and a Shiniest. The team has also added this, a common hunting wisdom booster that you can put on your gear if you would like, for 250 Forest Essence. And when I applied it to my axe, it gave me a whole 2 hunting wisdom, so that's pretty nice. I think these will be able to be upgraded in the future. Apparently there is a way that they want to be able to upgrade these. I just don't know how to do that yet, and it wasn't really explained that well in the thread. When I figure that out, I'll leave that in the comments down below. Next, we're going to head over to the forms real quick. First, they have added stretching sticks to the Moonglade Marsh section of the Bazaar. They've also adjusted the Heart of the Forest XP awarded by each tree gift type. So for Fig, it's still 10. For Mangrove, it goes from 10 to 15, and for Helix, it goes all the way up to 20. Ruby Veil Shrooms and Sea Loomies now give Foraging XP, which I think is pretty nice. We talked about the Jade Dragon change, as well as the Common Hunting Wisdom booster. There's also a change to Tree Toughness. Fig has gone from 7 up to 10, Mangrove remains the same, and so does Helix. There's also a Tree NPC price change in accordance with Toughness, and as you can see, Fig has gone from 7 down to 3 in terms of its NPC sell price. Mangrove has gone from 8 up to 15, which is crazy. And the biggest thing here, Helix has gone from 9 NPC sell price per Helix log up to 60. The goal here is, as we wish to do with mining, to make later game areas more profitable to NPC than early game ones. Fig, being meta, dissuaded new players from exploring deeper into Galatea. We will continue to monitor how these changes affect the foraging money-making meta. And if you take a look at the Helix log in game, you can see it's 60 coins NPC sell price, and if you look at the Enchanted Helix log, it goes all the way to 9,600 coins. Absolutely crazy stuff. I think foraging is absolutely back in terms of being a money-making method. People on the alpha, even with the poor TPS, without knowing routes, I've heard numbers of 35 million coins an hour, which to NPC isn't that bad. Foraging is a pretty fun activity. You got to do it a lot anyway in order to max it out. 35 million an hour at the very least is going to be very solid, and I think it'll go a lot higher than that once people figure out routes and fully have maxed out gear, because there is a lot of stuff that some players aren't using yet, and there's other upgrades that players just don't have access to at the moment. The team has also adjusted foraging XP in accordance with the toughness, so Fig has gone from 1,000 down to 100, Mangrove has gone from 1,250 down to 500, and Helix has gone from 1,500 up to 2,000. You're going to get a lot more foraging XP on this new island. I think that's totally fine. The foraging XP rates were already crazy. It's not like you're going to get no Heart of the Forest XP anyway. They adjusted the sweep of various items. The Seriously Damaged Axe went from 7 to 10. The Fig Q went from 7 to 15. The Fig Stone Splitter went from 24 to 25. Fig Armor went from 6 to 10 per piece. Helix Armor went from 10 to 20 per piece. And the Helix Chopper went from 40 up to 50. The team has also removed some sources of percent sweep because it was going to get out of control, and they also buffed the base amounts of sweep. Core of the Forest 2 has been changed from plus 5% sweep to plus 1 axe level ability, which has been moved from Core of the Forest 1. Core of the Forest 4 had its 10% sweep removed. It's now plus 5 tracking on tree gifts. The Lottery Heart of the Forest 4 perk has been changed from plus 5% sweep up to plus 10 sweep, or rather down to plus 10 sweep. And Agatha's power has been changed from 1 to 5% sweep to 5 to 25 base sweep, and Miria's power has also been changed from that percentage sweep to 5 to 25 base sweep. As for some other hunting-related changes, critters no longer show their HP stat as players cannot interact with it, and stamina bars have also been changed and scale with shard rarity. So as you can see, a common shard will only have 1 stamina bar. If it were an uncommon shard, it would be 2, rare would be 3, epic would be 4, and legendary would be 5. Those stamina bars, by the way, are the things right above the mob with the lasso right there. And also, they've adjusted the colors of the stamina bars to match with the item rarity system. So if it's legendary, it'll start out as the yellow color, then go to the purple, then blue, then green, then white. The team has also made a nice change to the Wiki Tiki shard as well as the Field Mouse shard. If you take a look at them, they're both in the evasive family, which means they now drop 100% of the time when you kill that mob, which is awesome. In terms of other changes, they have disabled the Talk to Susan objective for all players not in the hub, and players placing recombobulated summoning eyes now increase the chance of getting a superior dragon much more linearly. So at 0 out of 8, it's a 4% chance, then it's a 12.5% chance for 1 recombobulated eye, then 25, 37.5, 50, 62.5, 75, 87.5, and then 100% at all 8. They've also adjusted the Dragon Piper perk and increased the cost from 2,500 up to 5,000 Dragon Essence. And Summoning Eyes you drop have a plus 5% chance to be recombobulated. They've also buffed the damage dealt by vacuums at the highest level, and this is because on the alpha there are some shard changes to the shard that buffs vacuum damage, and previously on the first alpha people were worried, well, hey, under certain circumstances I can't one-shot pests. That should not be a problem anymore. They've also increased the damage added to vacuums by Bookworm's favorite book from 10 up to 20. So once again, even less of an issue. The team has also made good on their promise to finally lower the vast majority of bestiaries in Skyblock. The team goes over their problems with the current bestiary iteration. It's the last aspect of a piece of content that you will max out. Early game bestiaries were unhealthy due to forcing veterans to compete with new players. Some have been modernized, but others still demanded far too much player time, so on and so forth. And as a result, a lot of bestiaries have been slashed. Lapis zombies from 3,000 down to 200, lonely spiders from 25k down to 4k, butterflies from 1k down to 100, common sea creatures from a various amount of numbers down to 1,000, mythic sea creatures from 100 to 50. And they have a little spreadsheet here going over all of the changes that they have made. Is this every mob in the game? No, it's not. But is this a really good start? Absolutely. I've got to say, I think they did a solid job on all of these changes. I'm really happy about it for sure. What I will say, though, is that there are a few more mobs that do need some adjustments. I think people will be leaving them both down below and on the forums, and I hope they continue to make those adjustments, but it seems like that's part of their philosophy going forward. They want players to be able to max out those bestiaries relatively reasonably so that they can feel the impact of the bestiary rewards, like the bonus magic find, as they continue to play. They also apologize to anyone who ended up taking the time to grind out older bestiaries and had them be slashed. They will be more mindful when designing them in the future. Thank the Lord. I'm very happy about this, and I hope they keep their word on all of this stuff. It's really a good step in the right direction. Now we're going to go over more specific Taurus Canyon and Safari Zone related changes. They have increased the Queen Ant spawn chance from 1% up to 2.5%. They've also improved the Queen Ant chapter text to convey that they are more likely to spawn from ant hills. They've added forced loot share to any mobs that you spawn from tree gifts. They've reduced the honeycomb used in the fun-sized pot of honeycomb from 1 enchanted honeycomb down to 64 regular honeycomb. They've also added forced loot share to any mobs that you spawn from smearing honey on trees. They have also renamed and retextured the condensed honeycomb to the enchanted honeycomb block. The tree protection order holograms now say critter instead of mob. They prevented abilities like the homing axe from targeting protected trees. They have renamed the acceleration talisman line to accretion. The Forager Daniel and Forager Rowan now hold helix choppers. They've adjusted the Hive Thief to use standard lasso mechanics instead of requiring 2 or more players, which is really nice. That was a big pain on the first alpha. They have improved zone entry messages for the Spring Shallows. They have reduced the Dry Bark's backstab attack from 25% max HP damage down to 500 damage. They have added the large pocket black hole to Ruby Veil Shroom Collection 8, which we'll go over in a minute. They have adjusted the effect of the rubber snorkel, which we'll also go over in a minute. It now grants +5 respiration, doubled while on foraging islands. They have also removed the rubber snorkel from the sprawl drop table. The sole method of obtainment is through Miria now. They have removed the rare foraging XP boost from tree gifts. They've added it to dry barks at a 0.1% drop rate. They have increased the NPC sell price for honeycomb from 20 to 100 coins. They've also added bottled mischief as a 0.1% drop from pucks. It's used to craft the Taurus belt. They've also rewrote all Torrhus Canyon critter drop tables, and they reduced the solar shard from +1 to +10% more Starling contest points to 0.5% up to 5% more. And if you look in Miria's shop, you can see the rubber snorkel here. This costs 125 Miria's coupons. So if you want it, that's how much it costs. And I believe it's from one of the later tiers, but I'm not able to tell you exactly which one it's from, sadly. Taking a look at the large pocket black hole, you can see that they've nerfed the pocket black holes quite a lot because they no longer have any chance to fully double shards. They only give you some amount of hunting fortune on combat shards, and that's only with the large pocket black hole. As you can see, the medium one here doesn't even have that perk. They should be buffed, in my view. There's already a lot of things on the Taurus Canyon that make black holes faster, which is really solid, but this 5 hunting fortune thing is just not strong enough. At the very least, give us 25 or maybe even 35 or 50 even, and give some amount of it on the medium pocket black hole. There aren't even any real changes between the small pocket black hole and the medium one right now. That needs to change. I've also tried to get my hand on the Taurus belt in whatever way I can, and I just can't find it anywhere. I can't find it in the recipe system. I looked in here, it's not in here. I don't know how to craft this thing or even if it's implemented in this alpha. Apparently, that's something you'll be able to do, but I'm not certain about this. And finally, in terms of alpha changes, we have the changes to the Safari Zone. Leaving the Safari Zone now spawns you at Warp Safari instead of Warp Taurus. They've also increased the critter catch rates. The common critters have been unchanged, uncommon have gone from 50 up to 75%, rare from 25 up to 50%, epic from 10 to 25%, and legendary remain 5%. They've also reduced the invisible hard pity values that guarantee a catch after a certain number of attempts. It takes less attempts to hit the pity now, which is great. They've also improved the Wumpa fight. I don't really know what specifically they mean by this, but I imagine it's the fact that the middle area looks a lot more obvious as something that the Wumpa can hit its head into, and I think it's a little bit slower now, but I'm not 100% certain. They've also reduced the amount of shining coins that drop at a time from 3 to 1. They've increased scrappy damage from 10 to 25. They've adjusted mentions of the Safari Belt to be dark green. They've added indicative text in front of the biome that is selected as your hunting hotspot. They've added booster slots to the Safari Belt. They've added a new secret achievement, which I think is related to getting all 7 bells. They've loot They've made it so loot shared kills now count towards Safari milestones, which is amazing. They've also added a hunting 15 requirement to access the Safari Zone. They've also added hunting XP to the Safari Zone floor drop pool, which is great. They've added a perk to the Safari Essence shop that gives hunting wisdom while in the Safari Zone. They've improved the Safari Zone reward summary. They've added a message when throwing a critter capsule at an NPC, and they've added varying amounts of hunting wisdom to the various Safari Zone tickets. So as you can see, a basic ticket will get you 10 hunting wisdom all the way up to 100 hunting wisdom for the first class ticket. However, they say that the goal here is to make the Safari Zone critters provide the most hunting XP an hour. I get it. I think that's a great idea. Whatever. I experienced the hunting area, the Safari Zone, with the first class ticket. I hunted every single mob in a whole area, and all I got was 12,000 hunting XP. Not a lot for the amount of time investment that you're going to be spending here. They really need to double, triple, 5x these numbers to make it worthwhile if they are going to have this skill go all the way to 50. They've also co-op soulbound rainbow feathers. This is a big one. I'm really happy they've done this. Players have been worried that it's going to make pet leveling obsolete for a while. Really glad to see them co-op soulbind these. They've also removed some levers from the cavern biome, and the entry cutscene now plays faster for players who have already seen it. So as you can see, for demonstrative purposes, right now I'm at 863,729 XP, and I used the best possible ticket to get in here, so I have 100 bonus wisdom active now. And if I'm able to catch one, there we go. I go all the way up to 864,031. So I gained around 300 XP. I'm going to be honest, that's not a ton for a mob capture in this zone, especially considering that you can get that much off of 2 pieces of mithril if you were mining, for example, or even just half a tree. I get it. You know, this is a new skill and they want to get it all the way to 50. I understand that, but they need to make the skill a lot more viable to actually level if they want players to hit level 50 in any reasonable amount of time. Aside from some more bestiaries that may need to be adjusted, the Safari Zone XP being a little bit low, and the Desert Whisper problem for the early game player base, I imagine this update will go over really well with players. There's a lot of new content here. Foraging is actually going to be a super viable money-making method. Hunting is really fun, and the new island is super enjoyable with some secrets for players to find. On top of that, there's going to be a huge bestiary reduction across the whole game, which I think players have been asking for a very long time now. I'm going to be working on a hunting guide for the Safari Zone in the near future. I'll have that out relatively soon, but I'm really excited for this update, and I hope you guys are too. I think this is an absolute banger. Would love to hear what you think about this update down below. Leave all of your thoughts there, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.